It's striking how in San Francisco,
Yeah.
the word has still not gotten out. All the major museums, art museums, with very sophisticated cafe food for lunch, they produce the shittiest, deliberately dark roasted coffee. Well, I would say this one's a kind of nice, balanced, crisp cup in between A, which was very bright and delicate, and B and C, which were heavier bodied and tended more towards low tones and wood and dried fruit notes. This one's sort of right in the middle of that spectrum, I think. It's kind of sweet, crisp. There's a cup in the tests that we could call classic. This would be it. It's kind of quiet, unobtrusive, doesn't call attention to itself, but when you focus on it, you realize that very little of that woody tendency, right?
Yeah, much less.
If it is, it's very, very fresh cut.
Yeah.
Kind of wood. Fundamental notes in this cup, I'd go more towards nut. A sweet nut, a nice cashew.
Cashew was what jumped out.
And a quiet, backgrounded fruit. Peach, perhaps.
Citrus. It's, peach.
I think you're right. I often overlook citrus for some reason. I think there's a little bit of citrusy brightness. They're also integrated, aren't they? It's one kind of sustained and coherent impression that has a lot of nuance. At Coffee Review, at least I often use the term layered. In other words, you sense that there's a lot going on, but it's tightly layered. So you don't get notes that you could metaphorically say are top notes or high notes. Yeah, they're all tightly layered together. Very quiet, inobtrusive, and satisfying. I just sipped some, Kevin. All of these coffees, they're remarkably sustained and coherent as you go from the nose to the cup.
Yeah, I haven't had one yet that jumps, just sometimes they're a surprise when you taste them. None of these are.
Right. The structure is very balanced. In other words, I use the term structure to describe the balance of the basic tastes. I mean, it's difficult to pull out sweet. There's some tart. Bitterness in coffee is a bitter beverage, so we take bitterness for granted in coffee, but it's an important part of the profile. We look for sweetness because sweetness is more rare in coffee. But this has all of the basic tastes are just really lovely and a lovely coherent package. And again, kind of medium-bodied, not light, but not full either. This has been a very, very interesting exercise for me. See these roasters doing a really thoughtful job. Remarkable. I mean, somebody paid attention. Right, they didn't just say, "Oh, we got to do a breakfast blend."
Right. Let me put it in a very blunt way for me, my blunt consumer's way. The thought that somebody got handed 2 sacks of coffees and said, "Oh, we got to put out a blend," choosing the right coffee and then going back and forth with how much, what the ratios are, just to give this beautiful third taste.
Exactly. It's kind of pure but complex, and it's a coffee almost, it seems to me, that says, "No, I don't want to surprise you. Yeah. I just want to please you."
This is all about. Yeah, this is right. Yeah.
This is just the opposite of these coffees that we're getting at Coffee Review that are anaerobic processed.
Yeah.
And have these wild tastes like bubble gum and cologne. And as you can tell, I'm getting a little tired of them.
I know, me too. The new flavored coffees.
I don't want to put it down because some of them are beautiful. This is the opposite in a sense. This succeeds. Inobtrusive, careful balance, aiming to satisfy.
These are not for the jaded taste buds like some of the more adventurous coffees are. But they're just crowd pleasers.
D and A in particular. B and C are more get the job done, do it well, but just get it done. So what is another coffee from your Middle Western roasters there?
I'm glad you set me up nicely for that. This is a New York roaster.
Oh, okay.
Batch coffee. And I don't know if you remember Batch. Batch was at one of our coffee cons in New York, and you were there. You taught a tasting class, but they're from Binghamton, New York, is where they're roasted. But they're in Manhattan. This is another one though that didn't tell me anything about the coffees other than it was blend of Central and South American coffees. That limits it. So, but I get a sense.
Well, it does.
From that. Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
I certainly knew I was not going to get an Indonesian coffee or an African coffee. Right. So it's
this is the essence of Latin American coffee tradition.
Right.
The traditional coffees of Latin America.
Yeah. And these are all washed. I would assume washed, except for the Brazil, as you say.
If there's a Brazil in here, which I think there may well be, because there's a kind of a coherence and smoothness maybe that perhaps a really good Brazil will give to the blend.
Now, do you taste any roast in this? By that I mean any hint of. Well, you know what? Maybe in the Agtron numbers will tell.
Well, we'll find out. But I think you're right. I didn't notice it. But you're right. I think that, in a sense, the roast was used to quieten round the smoother.
Right.
So now I'm picking out. I could even say that I'm picking up a slight roasty edge. But mainly it helped knit the coffees together. Certainly darker than A.
It did, and it kept me from initially identifying it as a stereotype breakfast blend, which I think of as light. It is.
Oh, really?
I do. Yeah, I think a breakfast blend is
well, the only
light.
one here that's light, though, that tastes light to me is A.
Is A, yeah. I know. While that's true, this is the only one that had anything that's, so far, tastes at all of roast.
Boy, that finish is
it's
beautiful,
a wonderful finish, isn't it?
It's still ringing, just satisfying, and in this case, it's turned chocolatey.
Chocolate, isn't it? Yeah, as it cools, I like that.
Kind of a sophisticated, darkish sort of chocolate. Yeah, that is one damn great cup.
I knew you would like it.
In the classic tradition, I tell you, there's this old terminology for roast names. These names like city roast and full city.
Oh yeah, right. French roast.
City roast supposedly was, which is maybe slightly darker than medium. City roast was associated with New York City.
Right, correct.
And so if this is a New York City coffee, then this is a beautiful city roast.
Well, I think it's kind of fun. I think it's fun when we've done the various shows and gone around the country meeting the roasters, and I get a solid sense that certain cities have an identity with roast. Of course, Seattle being another one. I kind of find that fun. At one time, I think there was a feeling of geography. Some early coffee books, I don't think yours, but Schaefer's maybe, talk about that, I think, a little bit.
Well, it's striking how in San Francisco, the word has still not gotten out. So San Francisco got claimed by dark roast, and a museum cafe in a sophisticated museum is still doing these wretched dark roasts. This just bugs me. It's too bad this is not broadcast TV, so I could really give it to these people. But
you're firing me up about it.
But I'm sure that in Manhattan, the coffee in the Metropolitan Museum is not dark roasted. It's not probably great coffee. It's probably pretty ordinary, but at least it's not destroyed in the roast.
Do we have a soapbox icon we can put? Thank you, Ken. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more shows like this.